All right, time now is 6:30, so we will begin. Welcome everybody. Thank you for attending tonight's Board of Finance meeting. We will go on to our agenda, starting with roll call. Joe Bissett.
Present.
Betty Dumaine.
Present.
Travis Irons.
Present.
Don Cavella.
Present.
Myself, Tom Sinkowitz. Scott Charlwood.
Present.
Very good. Next item, acceptance of our minutes from the January 17th, 2018 meeting. Everybody got a copy of that? Any questions, discussions?
I will be accepted.
Okay, we have a move to accept the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'll have to receipt this.
Move the honey to be heated.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, okay. My apologies. Prior to that vote, Scott Charlwood, who is our alternate member, does have voting rights tonight. My apologies. All right, our next order of business under new business. First up is nominations for our vacancies. So as everyone here I'm sure knows, we have two vacancies from two members that have recently resigned in the past month. One is a full seat position and the other is an alternate position. Just to clarify a couple things on those positions, the full member position originally was a term from 2013 to 2019, became available as of January 22nd. Of this year. So the way it works is if we were to be successful this evening in finding someone to fill that position and that appointment, it is good through 2019 and then would have to be re-elected to that position. As far as the alternate position, same deal as far as it was a different time frame as far as the term. Originally it was 2015 to 2021, became available more recently as of February 15th, 2018. So that would be good until 2019 as well, the next election cycle, and then we would move to either re-elect or elect somebody new for those positions. So we are looking to fill those two positions tonight if we are successful through the remainder of that time until next year, until election day. So now when it comes to these positions, one thing to keep in mind is both positions are very important to the Board of Finance. An alternate member, as I noted just now, of course, the big difference is does not always have voting rights because if all full members are present, it may not be necessary to have the alternate fill in. However, in the absence of a full member, which in this case we have tonight because we have a vacancy, we have our alternate here, Scott Charlwood, who is filling in and has the voting rights for that seat. So it is really crucial sometimes to have our alternate members at almost every meeting because a lot of times somebody will not show up. Even if they confirm, may not be able to make it, and it's crucial that we have a quorum of at least 4 members to be able to pass certain things in our agenda. So it's a very important position, and of course the full seat is pretty self-explanatory. It's a full member, full term, and it's important also to be making the meetings. And so just something to keep in mind when it comes to schedules is that we're not just looking to obviously put a warm body into these positions. We need to make sure we have dedicated individuals that we're putting into these positions. As of today, I have received 4 letters of interest for these positions, and I believe all 4 of these individuals are present tonight, so what I'm about to do is to open the floor for nominations. And I believe that, again, these 4 will be present and will be nominated. However, one thing that I do need to note when it comes to the nominations is that it needs to be noted if the individual that so-and-so may be nominating, whoever here is nominating that person, are you nominating them for just the full seat, just the alternate seat, or either one? Because the first seat that we're going to be looking to fill is the full seat because that was the first one to become available. So in the event that we're successful and we fill that seat with one of maybe 4 nominations, for example, we have then another seat to fill, which could be questionable as far as some of the people who are nominated for the full. Would they be interested in the alternate position? Maybe, maybe not. So that needs to be clarified as, again, are you nominating for a full member, alternate member, or both? Either or. They'd be willing to serve in either or position. So just please clarify that in your nomination of any individuals. Any questions on that? So at this time, I will open the floor for nominations. Yes.
I'd like to nominate Gary Stallboy. I've known Gary for several years now, and in the last 3 to 5 years, I've come to know him very good. He served on the Selectmen's Board for a couple of years. He's also a member of the Board of Education, and we've talked at length. This is not a fly-by-night decision. Gary's been thinking about this for the last year and a half, and has finally decided that he wanted to get on the board. So I take pleasure in nominating Gary Stallboy for the full-time position.
Okay. Thank you. Other nominations?
Yes. I want to nominate Catherine Howard.
Okay.
She's a, moves up, looks up by the church, she's a local business person.
All right, very good. Other nominations?
Nominate Kevin Cunningham,
Okay. And what are you nominating him for?
alternate position.
We're nominating Catherine for a full-time.
All right. Any other nominations? Okay, any other nominations going once?
Is there another one?
There was at one, the only other person I had heard of, and again, I don't know if they'll be up for nomination, is David Saros, expressed a letter of interest, but obviously needs a nomination.
Nomination for an alternate.
Okay, so you're nominating him for alternate? Okay, very good. All right, any other nominations? Okay, any other nominations going once? Twice? Okay, at this time, I am closing the floor for nominations. So moving on to our first seat that we're looking to fill, which is the full member seat. What I wanted to do is to give the opportunity, so as of right now, we have 2 nominations for the full member seat. One is Gary and one is Catherine. So we'll start off with Gary. What I want to do is give, if they are present, give them an opportunity to say a few words and introduce themselves, because I know a couple of our members here spoke about them, but I may not personally know them, and other people in the room may not know them, so if they would just say a couple words about themselves. So Gary Stallboy.
I'm Gary Stallboy.
Okay, Gary.
Like Teddy was saying, it's been a while since I've been involved, so I wanted to get back into it. We've been talking about the budget process for quite a while now, and I mean, there's a couple ideas I've had in my mind to pass by as too. So I did serve 2 years in the Board of Selectmen, a couple of years on Board of Ed, and I guess I'm also still a member of the EDC, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I definitely want to get back involved in it, so.
All right. Thank you, Gary. All right, Catherine Howard.
I'm here. Hi, my name is Catherine Howard, and I'm interested in becoming a member of the board because I've been a resident since 2001, and my daughter goes to the high school, and also my first introduction into involvement with the town was with the RTC, and I have some interest in the town and some concerns and want to see the town prosper. And I'm also a realtor, so I'm on the street and I hear what people want in the town and what makes them move. So I think I can be a benefit in helping what we spend our money on in the town and to improve things.
Okay,
So
great.
that's why I want to become involved.
Thank you. One thing I will also note, now that Catherine has been officially nominated and will be up for consideration and vote for the full seat, is I also received a letter from the Republican Town Committee recommending Catherine for that position, so thank you. All right. Any questions or discussion from any members of the board? Seeing none, okay, I will entertain a motion to vote on the full seat.
so I make a motion to vote on the full seat.
Okay, we have a motion to vote on the full seat. Do I have a second? Second. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second, so we are now about to vote. So starting off with Gary. All those in favor of Gary Stalaboyne to fill the full seat position signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Me.
4-1.
Okay. What we can also do too is we can the votes that were just done, maybe it's just so I want to make sure there's no confusion. Please raise your hand to indicate your vote. So in the first vote we just did with Gary, those who signify by saying aye, please raise your hand. Okay. Those who voted nay, please raise your hand. Okay. That clarifies that. All right, next, for Catherine Howard. Those in favor of Catherine Howard filling the seat, please signify and raise your hand by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Boo. All right. So with those voting results, Gary, you have voted to fill the seat. Congratulations. One thing to note about any position, not just the full or alternate position, is that you are not official until you've been sworn in. So you do not have any voting rights. You cannot do anything until that time. So please make sure that gets done as soon as possible. Next up, we have the alternate seat position. So starting off with Kevin Cunningham, if he is present, I'd like to hear a few words. He's here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin Cunningham, see, past background, former first selectman, also been on Board of Education for years, and many different subcommittees that I've served for. So obviously following things that are going on with the budget process throughout the years, I think I can add some, lend some expertise in that area, so I would appreciate anybody's support.
Okay, so Kevin. David Saros, is he present?
Present,
Okay.
right here. Hello, everybody. My name is David Saros. Been part of this community since 1990. Moved in here, believe in the town. I have 2 kids that went through the full education system here. Worked in businesses in town here as well. Part of the startup of the wood burning plant. And presently on the ethics committee. And I think I could bring some fresh ideas instead of some ideas that people have run through in the past and been on committees. Maybe a new way to look at things from a different standpoint. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions or discussion from members of the board? No? Okay, then I would like to entertain a motion to vote on filling the alternate seat.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second, very good. So starting off with Kevin Cunningham, please raise your hand and say aye. For those in favor of voting Kevin Cunningham for the alternate position.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed?
No.
Right. Okay, for David Saros for the alternate position, all those in favor of David for the alternate position signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Dottie, can you just verify the count that you have gotten for the minutes?
I have 2 in favor of Kevin Cunningham, 4 opposed, and 4 in favor of David Saros.
Okay, same as I have, very good. David, congratulations. And again, as said, please make sure that you can attend as many meetings as possible, both for our full position and our alternate position, and be sure to get sworn in as soon as possible, so that way, especially if we have special meetings that come up very quickly, which does happen sometimes, especially going into our very busy budget season. We want to make sure that everyone is all set, so thank you. All right, moving on to our next item of business, review and approve the revised budget calendar for fiscal year 2018-2019. I know everybody received a copy of it via email, but also Kelly has copies here for reviewing. I personally have reviewed it. Any questions or discussion?
Just for clarification, the one correction that was made was the referendum date?
Yes, correct.
Understood.
Yes.
I move that we accept the budget calendar as presented.
Okay. You have a second? All those in favor of approving the revised budget calendar, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approved revised calendar. All right, next item of business is to review current fiscal year 2018 budget statement. Has everyone had a chance to review? All right, so one thing to note is flipping over to the back of the first page, looking under total local revenues.
We have 19 million total collected.
Right.
That's state and local.
Yep. So we got the total amounts there, 19 million for total, state and local.
Yes,
Yep.
correct. Do you want me to give you some revenue? Right now, what we have for revenue, just so you guys know, there's some local, well, some state revenue that we're not gonna be receiving in current year. The elderly tax credit of 108,000, we won't, doesn't look like we'll be receiving that. And the 135 for hospital tax, 135,000, we will not be receiving. The town aid is under discussion right now, so we may not be receiving 144,000. So the net of all that is 388,000 loss we may not get from the state. So just keep that in mind, and I'll keep you posted. When I look at the revenue numbers this year versus last year at this time, we had about 2 million more revenue than what we're receiving right now. So, $1 million of that we're definitely not getting, and the other sources, I don't know, I can't tell you. So, we're behind that much. We're doing good in our investment interest due to the market, which now is not so favorable, but, we did well there. Local revenue, town clerk is doing well with fees that she's collecting. The pool, we're still working on that. I don't know if we're gonna hit the budget of 112,000, so we'll have to watch that as it gets closer.
At last meeting, I think we were 7,000 behind for that period. Are we still the 7,000 or more?
Well, right, we budgeted 112. You wanna know, like, on target, we still have left 57% to still collect. So we're not on target.
Adequate to about how many dollars?
Well, I would say,
Just a guess.
to break even, probably another 10,000. You would have to collect to break even right now, like now. So,
Kathy, is the, excuse me, did I ask Kathy a question?
Yes.
Is the closing on Friday not going to affect the swimming pool?
It's not going to affect
Okay, I don't think so.
what else can we say? Property tax revenue, they're doing well, collecting of taxes. And I guess that's about it for revenue. If you guys have any questions about anything specific. Expenditures. Is anything sticks out that you have questions on?
I personally have none. Do any other members of the board have any questions regarding our revenue statement?
Motion the revenue statements accepted as presented.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on our agenda is a discussion plan to replenish the fund balance and fund balance usage policy. One thing that was noted, and I know has been brought up by a couple of our members, and just want to mention it again, is how it actually, even though it's not official for us to have to replenish the fund balance, not required, it is a recommendation that has been brought up, particularly so our bond rating is something we need to keep an eye on. And we always need to keep an eye as far as where we're at in the general fund balance and realize that whether it goes, depending on which way it goes, particularly if it goes down, it can really affect our bond rating. So putting it out there as an item of discussion, we are not necessarily going to be approving anything tonight or voting on anything tonight for that. And actually, I believe one of our members, Joe, I think you had mentioned to me that we had a discussion the previous
We
meeting.
had a discussion previously. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it did.
We
Our
do,
fund balance go up from like 12, 12 and a half to 13 this year.
Right now, after deducting, using $1 million from the fund balance, we're at 13.3.
Okay, and it had been at like 12 and a half to 12 the year before. I'm pretty sure that was the number.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
So it did increase even
It-
though we took the money out.
Well, the beginning of the fiscal year, it was 15. Okay, it was 15, now it's 13. Yeah.
But I'm saying, from the previous year, it had gone up. We're still ahead of the previous year.
Well, last fiscal year, 2017, that's June, it was 15, and now we're 13. We're gonna end this year with 13. So we're decreasing.
what's the minimum number that we can?
We have different recommendations.
Because we
talked-
got the fund balance policy.
Yeah, and that's 8%, correct?
That's at 8%.
Yeah, that's an old policy. I spoke to the accountant here. There's emails. And what the recommendation is due to the economy in the state of Connecticut. And what they recommend for the state of Connecticut, to have like at least 2 months in your reserve. So 2 months in our reserve would be 8.5 million. And we're at 6.8. And then also it speaks about state of Connecticut, recommended for towns is between 12 to 15%. Because the state of Connecticut, you know, what is going on with the revenues right now in the state. So they're recommending towns to be higher in their fund balance. And this is the General Financial Officers Association.
How much do we have in there that's earmarked?
Earmarked, we have 300,000, 800,000, 1.1.
Pardon me?
1.1.
So if we had to, we could transfer that into the regular fund balance, right?
Unassigned, yes, you could.
So the 13.3, how much would that mean about?
So that would be an additional 1.1. You would be roughly, I would say, close to 15.
Close to 15? So we're not real bad, because we could.
We could do that, yes, that is, yes.
Any other comments from any members of the board regarding the general fund balance or the balance usage policy? No?
And,
I'm sorry?
and if we use it for this year, we're probably not gonna, we can do it again.
If I lose revenue, like I was stating, that 388,000, it comes from your fund balance. Yeah, it comes from your fund balance. Anything in your budget that you don't get the revenue for, it depletes your fund balance. Yeah.
All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll move on to our last item of new business. which is discuss the fiscal year 2019 budget for avoiding any mill increase. So, as we know, we're going into right now the budget season. It's certainly going to be a tough one for us here in the town. And one of the areas that I personally have been focusing on and working with is the Board of Education's budget request for fiscal year 2018-2019. Actually, Joe and I had made it to, earlier this month, we made it to the budget workshop that the board had. Very informative, I personally thought, about some recommendations that they have. But it's also like any other department in any other area, it's a work in progress. So it's not necessarily set in stone as of yet, and as we know, we have our budget calendar, which we just approved with the revision, which shows you our timeline of deadlines and dates coming up for this budget season. So just keeping that in mind, wanted to bring it up for discussion for questions or any comments from any of our members of the board.
I believe that the Board of Ed is working off the legislative budget and not the governor's proposed budget. And I think that's gonna make a huge difference. And I think they're gonna have to rework their budget.
What's the difference between the two in dollars, roughly?
It was 1.8, but now they're saying the governor has increased to 2.5,
Yes.
2.3.
Around 2.3, 2.4.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
based on
huge.
that,
You would be short that much money.
based on that, they would have to cut that amount out of the current budget before we gave them the money?
Yes.
Yes.
So that would bring them down to what,
The third,
$11 million budget?
I don't know what their budget is. I don't. But yeah, you'd have to cut your funding, the less that you got for ECS, yes, you'd have to cut that out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we cut that out, let's say $1.5 million, plus 2 more million?
No.
So it'd be just $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And they understand that? Okay.
Well, while we're on that subject, under this, again, topic, and we're talking specifically about Board of Ed, I did see present this evening with us as our chair for the Board of Education, Christy Haskell. So I did want to give a moment to Christy if she had anything she would like to add or acknowledge about this topic.
Well, we are certainly still addressing our budget. We have a budget, again, another budget meeting coming up on, I believe, February 28th at 7 o'clock p.m., which I believe is going to take place at the ECC. And we are always very open for communication. I understand there was a meeting held with the superintendent, but again, I'm willing to sit down and work the numbers. I'm trying to stay in contact with our legislature to understand their thought process as well. And basically, it's an open dialogue at this point. We're working very hard. The budget workshop, we sat down with all of our administrators. We spoke, we heard what they had. We looked at our 5-year capital improvement. We looked at our facilities walkthrough. We looked at everything that's been recommended. And it's been a very difficult year. To go forward and to try to give our students the progress and the advancements that they need, it's getting tougher to do that. So.
Thank you, Christy.
The town is also losing their, I believe, the town and road.
Town aid.
Town aid.
Yeah, possibility, that 144,
Yeah.
144,000. Correct. If we lose that, we don't spend it, because it's a revenue and expenditure.
No, but I know, it's still some money that they need to do.
Yeah, for highway, yes.
We get that bridge done in
Yeah, he's working on that. Yes. Close it, yeah.
Do we have any idea what the numbers would have to be if we went with a 0 mill increase next year? What school would have and what the town would have for a number?
I don't know the full breakdown, but it would be roughly 1.5 million.
Below from last year.
Yeah.
the new grand list should give us
1.5.
1.5 mil. 51 or thereabouts $1 million raising the grand list. So we should have that amount of money more than what we had last year. So we can go up at least that much and break even.
Right, because we know nobody wants a tax increase, so you see them, you hear it all the time, so I mean, we gotta work towards zero.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we have to go to.
Right.
I think that the Board of Finance should have a meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Education, all one meeting, working on a budget together. Otherwise, it's altogether different, you know, they work on hands, they work on hands, and everybody, all the pieces should be together at one time.
Well, I think the one thing we've already done is establish a goal, 0 increase in mill rate.
Right.
How do we achieve it?
But yeah, Joe, I would be fine. I can personally get a feel for if we could schedule that in the very near future.
So you'll contact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, I will do that.
Good idea.
All right, anything else on our discussion for fiscal year 2019 budget, avoiding any mill increase? Okay, very good. That completes our last item of new business. I will now open it up to citizen participation. First, starting off with, does anybody have any questions, comments, suggestions, concerns about any of the items we discussed on the agenda?
One thing I wanted to point out, as has been said a lot, is going for a 0 mill rate increase. My understanding is the assessments came in a percentage higher across the board. So a 0 mill increase will be a tax increase. I'd be interested to know what the equivalent mill rate would be given our increase in our assessments.
I want to answer that, but I don't know what the state's going to give us, you know, so I can't really tell you what my revenue picture is going to be. But the grant list grew 1.5. The school lost last year roughly 1.3. That's additional money that needs to be cut for the ECS money. So I guess it's a net of that and whatever revenue I miss.
Right, well, I guess what I was asking is if you took the new grand list, what would the mill rate be to come out to the same number you had this year? That would be the equivalent of it.
Right. Didn't maintain.
So if the grand list went up 1.5%, then the mill rate should come down 1.5%.
Yeah.
And
yes,
to make them equal.
Yeah.
Any mill rate above that is
It's
a
not
tax.
really making it equal.
Is a
I know
tax
what you're
increase.
saying. I know what you're saying, yeah. Right now, when I look at the revenue projections and what was with the CTM, the revenues I got and stuff, with the 1.5 growth and the loss of revenue, we netted out to a 0.02 mill increase. So we're still going up. It's not even going down. So you would have to cut at least 1.3 million expenditures. Plus, if I lose any more revenue, you know, for the state.
Right.
So at least 1.3.
I just want to, the understanding
I know
between
you- I know what you're
a 0 mill increase
It's not really
is not
because the
really.
assessed values went up. I
Right,
know.
it's still a tax
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you for bringing that up. All right, any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. When you're talking the difference between the 1.8 and the 2.3 or whatever, why don't you just plan on worst case scenario and go from there, basically. You know? And also, I had an idea about fiscal year goes from July to June, switch it back to October to September. This way, come October, the state hopefully has their act together. You already know what your funds are going to be coming in, so you have to do a charter revision and all that. It's going to take a while, but you may want to consider that down the road.
Okay. Any others? Okay, the other portion of this that I will note is because this is a regular scheduled meeting, I will also open it up to any general questions, suggestions with the Board of Finance. One of the things that I've talked to a lot of people about is certainly the Board of Finance, our current members, all are looking for feedback and looking for suggestions. So certainly the questions and comments we got tonight we much appreciate and we'll take into consideration and do some research on. But it's not just that. If there's anything else that somebody has just a curiosity question, we certainly would like to hear it. We don't want people just to, go around and wonder things and think that it's all secret, because it's not. We're here working for the town, we're serving the people of the town, we want to help the town. So we certainly want to know if there's other concerns. So for a regular meeting like this, we can certainly entertain for a limited, very limitation on time, a certain number of questions or comments that may not have pertained to the agenda. However, do note that during our budget season particularly, we have a lot of special meetings. It's going to be very busy, and that is not something that we will have available necessarily at every single meeting. So again, I'm giving that as a courtesy for this meeting and maybe any other regularly scheduled meeting, but it will not be at any. So, yes?
Yeah, June Gagny, Central Village. I am always curious about the way you pick people for your boards and the way you vote. And I think maybe in this case, tonight, there should have been a little more research done on the people that you picked. So that's my concern about this, the way you do this. And I've seen it before, and I'm thinking, how do you just come up like that with, you didn't really have enough information about, to me, and you just picked who you wanted, but I think that ought to change. There should be a little more information, a little more campaigning from these people so they can offer, because they have a lot more to offer than just because they've done it before, they have a kid in school. So that's my opinion. I just wanted to offer that.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else for citizen participation? Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.